That's good. Yo, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about Delta 400, which is one of Ilford's professional line films. And I never really used this film in the past because I never thought about buying it. Usually if I wanted some high-end black and white, I'd probably buy some Kodak film. But living here in the UK, the Ilford films are much cheaper than Kodak films by a decent amount. So I dove into this film and I was honestly shocked. I did a couple different things with this film. I shot some portraits, I shot some stuff kind of outside, and I put it through some paces just to see kind of what I would get with different cameras and different lenses. And if there's anything I learned is that this film is perfect for portraits. If you want something that has that beautiful film character but gives you really top quality in terms of fine grain and just incredible kind of film latitude, this is the one for you. It's not the only film, obviously. There's a lot of films out there that are good for this kind of high-end work, but this one, no doubt, will be good for whatever you want to do. And I didn't push it or pull it or do anything kind of too creative from that point of view. I shot it all at box speed, but I was very, very happy with the results. Here's some results that I actually shot on flash with this camera right here. We've got a very cheap flash on top of the Canon P. And in the shots you're about to see, I actually had the flash on a kind of long stretchy cord. And I was basically going like this, just sticking the flash out, angling it, and taking my shots. Let's check that out.
No cost pounds or P. But this is so on the beat. She's your queen from the start. It's an honesty and transparency. You got clothes and I got gums, and I know one day we will take them off. But
I think it is the bass.
can't do that, don't break it off. Bridget, patience. Don't get frustrated. Gotta treat her right. That's a basic job, and if you can't do that, fam, break it off.
Yo, so what is this song about?
Oh, that's such a good question, man.
That's
That's such a good question.
That's part of life.
What
though.
is this song about? Lust, sexual, sensual. It's all around that kind of theme. But I'll be real. We didn't think about it too deeply. Conceptually, it wasn't really that. It was more just This was more just vibes than anything.
To add some more to this bit. It's like a whole build up.
This is my
This is
nice. Yeah, this is nice.
Feel the build up.
Yeah, this is nice. Yeah.
Might have to get the other bongo drums in there.
So I met this girl with a bagel shop. No, I didn't want to say too much, but when she looked in my eyes and I looked in her eyes, there's a vibe, and I know we could raise it up. Swear it don't really take a lot, but if the chemistry's there, then bake it up. You got clothes and I got gums, and I know one day we will take them off. But patience, don't get frustrated. Gotta treat her right, that's a basic job, and if you can't do that, fam, break it off. With your energy, G, oh G. It don't cost pounds or P's to be the man in the eyes, and she's your queen from the start. Is that honesty and transparency?
So that was a lot of fun to shoot. My homie Lemsy, who you've seen on this channel before, went to a studio session with him and just kind of followed him as he was doing his thing. And between him and the producer, they created some really, really cool stuff. So I'm glad I was able to document it that way. I did another shoot with this film as well, and I shot some in 120 and in 35mm just to see the difference. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I think I like the quality of the 35mm the most. The beauty about this film in 35mm is that it really gives you that best combination of beautiful film-like character. So when you see these images, you know they were shot on film, but you get the most kind of sharp and the most, really kind of put together image that you're gonna get out of a 35mm negative, especially for ISO 400 film. And obviously it depends how you develop the film. I think for most of these, I actually developed it in Pyro, which we'll talk about in a different video. But I'm sure if you use Ilford's developers or kind of any of the Kodak developers, you're gonna get pretty similar kind of qualities here in terms of really fine grain and just beautiful, sharp images. Let's check out the photos I made here with my friend Obi, who's a singer here in London. So that was a lot of fun. Obi's a fantastic model, very talented singer, and she brought it. She had cool outfits, she had makeup, hair, all of the above. It's always nice when you get to collaborate with someone who brings so much energy and so much preparation to a shoot. It's not all on the photographer, which is great. So in the scans, this film looks incredible for all the reasons I just said. You get that full latitude, you get the really nice fall off from the highlights and into the shadows. You get really beautiful fine grain, as I mentioned. But I really think the beauty of this film is when you look at the darkroom prints. This film reminds me a bit of tmax 400 because you can enlarge this film as much as you want, and you're still going to retain beautiful film character, but also get nice sharp results. And the grain isn't going to become a mess the bigger you go. And if you shoot this film in medium format, honestly, these things kind of look digital. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it in kind of a good way. The film, just with these big negatives in medium format, they just retain an insane amount of detail. And the grain is just not that evident, which is why I think I prefer it in 35 millimeter, because you get a beautiful kind of perfect balance between those two sides. But nonetheless, like I said earlier, if you want to use this film to do something high end and do something that you really, really care about, I definitely recommend it. So I'm sure a lot of you probably ask yourself, why is this professional film as compared to any other film you can use? I don't think you have to use professional film to do anything, honestly. If you want to use non-professional film or film with a lot more character or kind of imperfections, I vouch for it. I think it's a great use of film. But if you want professional results and you want to use professional products, the reason this is called professional film is because it has its T-grain structure. So this is an excerpt here that I got from one of the retailer websites. It says here, T-grain was first used in Kodak color films. It stands for tabular grain and refers to the structure of the silver halide crystals in the film emulsion. Essentially, it's a more efficient way to get the best result from a film emulsion. Tabular crystals tend to lie along the film's surface when coated and dried. This reduces the scattering of light and increases resolution. The results are finer grain, better sharpness, slightly better light sensitivity. So I know that was a lot of technical jargon, but I think long story is that this type of film with the tabular grain structure gives you the most sharp results you can possibly get, especially with higher ISO films. So that's why this compares to tmax film. Tmax film is Kodak's answer to this tabular grain, and that film, similar to Delta, is fantastic for enlarging because you can really kind of push your negatives and make bigger and bigger prints, even with 35 millimeter, and still retain a lot of that sharpness. The grain is much more subdued and kind of much more calm, and therefore it's not going to be as evident when you print. Again, this is all about personal preference because I think for some people they really love grain. I think I like grain for certain things that I do. But nonetheless, that's why this is professional film. So if you really want to kind of use something that'll make you feel like you're getting the most professional quality out of whatever shoot you're doing, this is Ilford's answer to that. All right, enough of the technical stuff. Let's actually go into the darkroom, look at how I printed an image, and then let's look at the actual prints. You can see for yourself what the resolution looks like from a 35 millimeter negative. So here we're looking at a couple prints a bit more closely. This print right here is the one that you actually just saw being printed. And there's some imperfections here. I think those are some smudges. Honestly, I don't know, but I don't like to waste printing paper, so I keep these prints if they're relatively usable. And I consider this one to be so. Here, as you saw, I printed it with the borders. And honestly, this is pretty cool. It took me forever to think about trying this, and I finally, thought to do it. So here it is, and honestly, I really like this. I don't think every single print needs this, but I think more fun prints where I'm not trying to be too serious, I think including the borders is just really, really cool. And of course, you get your information there. And, this is just unique. This is something you can only authentically do with film. With digital, you have to add in fake stuff, and honestly, that's kind of tacky. But because you can do this with film, I think everybody should try it, or at least incorporate it somehow into their printing. But anyways, love how this print turns out. Just a very, very simple, nice and sharp. You can't even see that much grain in this one. And I think it's because this isn't enlarged really. To get the borders in, you kind of have to make the print even smaller, or at least the image area, and therefore the grain's just gonna basically become invisible. But I love how this turned out. This next image right here, honestly, this is my most favorite print I've made in a while. And I don't think it's because the print itself is anything that amazing. I just did a very basic print, no dodging and burning, nothing honestly. But I just love this image. And the way the light is falling off across her skin and the gradient of the highlights into the shadows and the highlights in the texture of the hair and the soft bokeh in the background. And you can see the hints of the grain in the image. This is just beautiful. I love this image, whether it's a scan or a print. But seeing it in a physical print like this makes it that much better for me, honestly. So if I told you before and you didn't listen to me, go print your images, whether in the darkroom or digital, but obviously preferably darkroom. You will not regret it. Let's check out one more image. This last one here is an image from that studio shoot you saw earlier. And here, there's actually a lot of texture in the background because this wall was covered in felt, or kind of like a carpet material. And they did that so that they could absorb some sound because this is a studio. So that's not great what you're seeing in there. But if you look at his actual skin here, texture of his skin and of his hair and on some of the clothes, the grain is just so calm here. For this image, I zoomed in a little bit when enlarging. So there's definitely some image that was cropped out from the side and the bottom. But, you can't really tell. I'm sure I could go a lot bigger with this if I wanted to, and it wouldn't be a problem. But I love this image, and I love that bar in the background, that big highlight in the video. I thought this looked really cool, and it definitely looked cool. And also his tat, let's just talk about that for a second. It says Innovate on it. That's a pretty badass tattoo. I don't have any tattoos, but I definitely commend this one right here. All right, y'all, let's get back to the video. That was dope, right? I just love how this film looks when you print it. I don't think there's anything else much to say about this film. There's all this technical stuff we can probably talk about, but long story short, this film is quality. And if you want to spend a little bit extra to really control your images when you're doing any specific shoots, this is the one you have to buy if you're in the UK, but also if you're trying to buy from Ilford. So go ahead and give this film a shot if you haven't already. All right, y'all, that's what I got for this video. If you enjoyed it, please click that like button down below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, come on, go ahead and subscribe. All right, y'all, to the next video. I'm out.